Farms, every Arizona homeowner's best friend.
Welcome to the monthly Farm Fresh Hour hosted by the Arizona Farm Bureau spokesperson, Julie Murphree. This hour is sponsored by the Arizona Pork Council. Taste what pork can do.
Come on around back, Arizona, Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, the outdoor living hour of Rosie on the House. Yes, it is the first Saturday of the month, so we're talking farm fresh commodities. Julie Murphy's in studio, and as always, has a local farmer, rancher, and we've got like farm royalty you brought with you this morning.
Yes, and that's my big announcement. The Wells Cotton Company is being recognized this fall in November at the Arizona Farm Bureau's annual meeting as a century farm. So for those that are turning in, you're talking to a family that's been doing this for decades here in Arizona. And it's Dean and Polly Wells that are with me today in studio. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having us. This is a real honor.
Yes.
And you're not a century.
No, he's not.
But the farm is.
The farm. Yes. So, and I promised Polly that I wouldn't ask her too many questions, but I may have to ask her to slip something in there. But we're talking traditional crops this segment, while we're also talking about Dean Wells' family farm history. And we don't talk enough about the traditional crops. It's kind of cliche to talk about the direct market farms and to some of our farmers that are growing some very different and unique, which you fall in that line too. But I wanted to make sure that we talk about cotton, wheat, and alfalfa and how much of an economic engine just those three major crops bring to the state of Arizona. But before I dive into that, Dean,
yes,
tell us your family story. I know we can't do it in an hour, but the condensed version. No.
Yes, it hopefully will be. The story goes all the way back to Shelby, Iowa, and the family was there. And as the boys grew up, they were each given a gold watch and money to start somewhere. And so my great-grandfather headed off to South Dakota and started a farmstead there. And he got married, and it was really cold and wet up there. And his wife caught tuberculosis, and the doctors said that you've got to go someplace drier. So they headed out, and they went to El Paso, Texas, and it was too windy. And then they moved to Casa Verdugo, California, and it was too cold and wet there. And so after that, they came to, and this was all in 1 year, they went to Tucson, Arizona, and it was just right there. And so they moved there, and they lived in a tent with 4-foot wall, wood sides, a tent top. Wow. And that was approved housing there. And so they stayed there for a while, and things did not go well. And so he went to the bank one day. He was totally broke. Told the bank manager, I'm a good cow person. If you give me a loan, I'll start a dairy here. And so he did. And he started a dairy right down there on the Santa Cruz River, right there next to A Mountain. And the problem was the floods would come through and wash out his pasture frequently. And so after he did it okay anyway, and his wife got well again. And he finally said, we've got to get out of here. It's too hard here. And so they moved to Casa Grande, Arizona in 1913 and been here ever since.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of, in some ways, it makes me think on a woman of prayer and faith and going to a banker that said, trust me, I can do this. And he did it. And 100 years later, you are the great-great-grandson doing this, right?
Great-great-grandson.
Great-great-great-grandson doing this. So yes. And your crops are cotton, alfalfa, wayuli, what else?
Actually, my crops now are just cotton and barley and corn.
And if anybody's on Facebook, Dean Wells really shares his story. And because you guys are being recognized as Century Farm recipients this November from Arizona Farm Bureau, you're also posting a lot of old farm equipment that you're even kind of saying, okay, you guys, tell me what you think this is.
Right. And I'd like to say on Facebook is I live in a museum. I mean, there's old stuff no matter where you look. There's, as kids, we just played in the junk. And that's just what it was. And I didn't realize until much later there was actually valuable stuff. And there's so many old machines out there. And I found out one of the machines that we're still using when I started farming, my great-grandfather invented, and he patented it, and they made thousands of them. And they were built in California and sold all over the Cotton Belt. And
what is it?
It's called a BG, and it's a rotary harrow.
Okay.
And so it knocks the rows down so you can plant on them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And that is not an uncommon story. I hear from a farmer or rancher, they invent something to improvise, advance, innovate. My dad has a patent on a weir that measures water. So I'm totally tripping on that. That is so cool.
Yes.
Yeah. So you did bring, for our radio listening audience, you won't get to see this unless you go to Rosie on the House YouTube place. He brought some props. What's one of the props that you brought?
One thing, I know this sounds like a cowbell. It's not. It's a scale, and it's for weighing cotton sacks. Because when I was born, we were still picking cotton by hand, and so as the people walked through the field, and they would start picking in July, believe it or not. And so the water would still be running down the row, but you had to pick the cotton as it opened. Otherwise, it would sit out there in weather. Oh. And so you have people walking down through the water, next to the water anyway, and the cotton is still green, and they're hand picking all this stuff and dragging this huge bag. Huge. I mean, and so the scale goes to 200 pounds. So they're dragging this bag down the row, and when they got it to where it was too heavy to drag anymore, they'd haul it in, they would hang it, weigh it, and they'd pay you cash on the spot.
That is a treasure. Do not lose that. So that is a cotton
scale
weighing hand-picked bales of cotton.
And this is actually a more modern one. I have an older one than this. I don't know if you've ever seen the old beam scales, and so you have to sit there and move the weight in and out.
Oh, yeah.
And that thing's so old and rusty, you can hardly even read it anymore, but it still works.
What a treasure. And for the listener, we weren't really mechanized with picking cotton until the 1950s, wasn't it? The mid to late 50s. Yes. And then they were one-row cotton pickers. Right. Now we've got these modern, GPS, self-driving cotton pickers that can be 8 to 12 rows. They're just these humongous machines. But in the beginning, they were only one-row cotton pickers. Right. Now what? Oh, yay, you brought a Farm Bureau sign. Arizona Federation Farm Bureau.
This is actually from my great-grandfather.
Amanda's Peters, because that's on your mother's side, the Peters family.
My father's side.
Your father's side, okay. Uh-huh. Wow, that is so cool.
And my mother's side was actually in the panhandle of Texas, and of course, that was all wheat growing. Wheat growing.
Yes.
And her dad ran a grain elevator. And so on top of all my cotton stuff, I have all the grain elevator stuff too.
So this is also proof that Arizona Farm Bureau, which turned 100 in 2021, that we've got legacy thanks to your Peters genealogy lineage. And cool.
And he was active in everything. I mean, he's in so many newspapers back then.
Well, that's another thing that I wanted to mention too. And this is reminding me, you're a member of the Arizona Farm Bureau, first and foremost, Pinal County Farm Bureau, but you're also on the Arizona Cotton Growers
I'm a board member.
You're a board member.
Arizona Cotton Growers. I'm also a member of American Cotton Producers. I'm a representative from Arizona for that. I'm also on the San Carlos Irrigation and Drainage District Board, so I get to deal with the fact that we never have any water, and that's life.
So I will still insist then your proof of the pudding that you followed in your grandfather's, in the plural, footsteps. So that's pretty amazing. So we're going to talk a little bit about traditional crops. Some of them you grow, mainly the cotton. USDA's most recent Arizona cash receipts for cotton, wheat, and hay, which is primarily alfalfa here in Arizona. And this is, again, based on the latest available detailed. So it's running in the millions of dollars. And one of the things that I want to emphasize is in these cash receipts, they represent the value of the marketed production. So in cotton, in 2022, where we've got some of these most recent statistics, 189 million. Wheat, 91 million. And this is just in Arizona. I'm only talking about Arizona because I love Arizona. Hay, again, primarily alfalfa, 436 million. If you combine all that, we're talking about a 717 million $656,000 cash receipts in the aggregate in just that year alone. Now that fluctuates. The cash receipts they're saying coming out in cotton this year is going to be a little bit lower. The reason I bring this up and highlight how important our traditional crops are, that's economic contribution into the state of Arizona. And of course, you hear out there, oh no, they're using too much water for cotton and alfalfa, which is not true. We've reduced our water use with both of those crops incredibly, dramatically compared to what we did 100 years ago.
Yes, yes.
Your grandpa Peters would
he even
want to
helped,
point that out.
He actually helped dredge the Picacho Reservoir with mules. And,
oh, wow.
And so back then, we were getting the water from the desert, and they were storing it. And then, of course, we got it from the lakes. And we're so efficient with water here.
Yes.
And yes, we use a lot. It's just like the plants in your yard. If you don't water them, they're going to die.
Yeah.
A plant requires water, and
yes.
we can do it, and we can tell it. We can give it exactly what it wants, and we're so good at growing things out here.
Yeah, we are, and that's why we've got to celebrate it. Fire up that grill and taste what pork can do. Kevin Rogers asking you about the role of the Arizona Pork Council.
Yeah, so the Arizona Pork Council is near and dear to my heart just in terms of supporting Arizona pork producers. Arizona Pork Council is focused on is how do we get our name out there and how do we be more involved in the community when we are just a different pork state.
Pork is the most widely eaten meat in the world. Pork has more protein than chicken and is high in zinc, iron, and B vitamins.
The flavor, when I can throw a little salt and pepper on a pork chop, that's all it takes to have really, really good flavor. It's pretty simple. One of my favorites that's pork burgers. The use of ground pork in terms of burgers. So I can tell you that a pork burger is so much better.
Grab your tongs and let those juices flow. Visit azpork.org for recipes and mouthwatering ideas at azpork.org and taste what pork can do.
Sometimes you get to eat
Pork is the most widely eaten meat in the world.
and you just can't stop.
It's the Farm Fresh Hour, served up by the Arizona Pork Council at Rosie on the House.
And we'd like to welcome the Arizona Pork Council, content partner for this month and next here at the Farm Fresh Hour. And
Yes.
we've got a lot of great facts that we will get to, but I often say some of the best stuff in the broadcast listeners never hear because it's during commercial break.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of great points and a lot of great talking to get to. But Dean and Polly, y'all have got to share the book that y'all just bought.
Yeah.
That
Well, yeah.
So we
Either one of them.
So we were doing some research on the history of the family, and there is a website called the Arizona Memory Project, and in that there's anything that's published, newspaper articles, yearbooks, books, what have you. So we found a lot of information on Amandus Peters, his great-grandfather. And one thing mentioned was this book called Who Made Arizona? And Men. And it's a coffee table book from 1920. And in there is this full section, history of Amandus Peters, what he contributed to farming, as well as what he contributed to Casa Grande, as well as a whole section on Casa Grande and the farming in that area and that. So real interesting. So we did, I Google searched it, found the book, found it for sale at a
There's a specialty bookstore.
in Tucson. Yep. And so we purchased that book. So we have that for our family. And engraved on the book is one of the people that is mentioned in the book. So this person obviously bought the book and then they engraved it with his name. So we're hoping that maybe in Dean's museum collection of things that he just hasn't come across that book for his great-grandfather. So
That is so cool. And, since this show is being sponsored by the Arizona Pork Council, you actually have a pork story, Dean, again, that you told me before the show started. What's that?
Well, I do, because my great-grandfather started out with dairy cattle, and then he switched to beef cattle, and then hogs. And we have pictures of them herding the hogs to the railroad there in Casa Grande. And they would take them over there and put them on the rail car. And he would go with them to California and they would wet the hogs down anytime
Keep
the
'em
train
cool.
stopped, they would wet the hogs down, and then they would get to California, they would sell them at auction, and then he and his wife would take a mini vacation and then jump on the train and go back.
And so if you thought that we only herded cattle in Arizona, we also herd hogs, or at least we did
Yes.
nearly
These-
100 years ago.
Yeah, these were Duroc hogs, which is a breed.
Yeah.
And just the pictures of these hogs out there with the cattle. And they said that if a drought hit, the hogs were great because they could root down 2 feet to eat
Really?
earthworms.
Really?
They wouldn't starve. They could just dig for their food.
Well, they are a pretty robust animal,
Yes.
and I'm excited that the Arizona Pork Council is sponsoring this hour because it's another, nonprofit organization that's here to promote pork and all of the agriculture products that we grow. We need an organization like the Arizona Pork Council. Dean, I want to ask you really quickly. You're pretty significant on at least Facebook, social media. You captured drone pictures, all of these. And again, your props that you brought into the studio today, you're sharing those on your Facebook page.
Yes, I do. And I have a public page, and it's called The Straight Row. And I'll give opinion in there, and which I don't always do on my other side. And it's very interesting. And I put old equipment on there and have people try to figure out what it is. Sometimes I don't know what it is. I just find things everywhere. And the curiosity and the knowledge of people out there, so many people come from farm backgrounds that you don't realize.
Right.
You'll spend a whole life with them and then find out that, they came from Iowa and their family was farmers back there. And they still remember an awful lot.
Where can we find the Straight Row? Can anybody?
It's on Facebook.
Okay, it is on Facebook, and it's called the Straight Row.
Yes.
Because Dean Wells and some of our amazing Pinal County and Maricopa counties can drive a straight row.
Now.
And it actually was intended to be that I would speak the straight row, as in whatever I thought, I would tell it as I saw it and forget public opinion. It's just,
Right.
It's my opinion.
That is so cool. So, you've really tried to share some of these farm experiences, but what motivates you? What drives you personally in these storytelling experiences? Is it for the next generation? You have 2 daughters.
I have 3 daughters.
3 daughters.
Yes.
Is it just to inspire? What's the gig there?
Well, actually, Farm Bureau started this. You guys are at fault because
Yay.
years ago we had meetings and things weren't really going well for agriculture. And Farm Bureau came out and said, "You farmers need to tell the public what it's like."
That was my article. Thank
Yes.
you. No.
And I took it to heart. And I started this and I started publishing. And I really want to get across to people what it's like to be a farmer. That it's a different kind of job. Sometimes I'll just sit around for weeks and all I'm doing is paperwork, which let me tell you, I hate paperwork. I'd rather be out there with a shovel digging a ditch than do paperwork. But to tell people about this and to tell them that I may be sitting around, but okay, a rainstorm comes and you've got to get it done.
With endless cuts and recipes, pork's perfect for any outdoor cookout. Visit azpork.org for recipes and taste what pork can do. Your next barbecue masterpiece starts now at azpork.org.
Welcome, Arizona Pork Council, to the Farm Fresh Hour, new content partner here at Rosie on the House. And pigs get a bad rap for being a dirty animal. They're really not. They're not. They're very clean. They roll in mud to control their body temperature.
Exactly.
But they don't eat and roll in their own manure.
Right.
If you give them the space. Now, you keep them in a pen, they don't have a choice. But an open space, they're a very clean animal. And
in our modern day facilities, if you ever see those, they get to be clean because they've got fans and basically indoor air conditioning, and everything's monitored. And even when they do their business, it goes down the slats, so they're separated from their excrement and all that stuff. And it's a very controlled environment today in our hog barns, and it's an amazing production scene. We have one commercial producer here in Arizona, and that's up north in Snowflake. And then the majority of our farm pork or pig farms here are either direct market pig farms for the restaurant, or they're show pig farmers raising pigs for kids for the 4-H fairs and stuff like that. So our market we are not Iowa. We are Arizona. I think the biggest state producing pork is Iowa, but we're significant and we hold our own.
Early in my entrepreneurial career, it was actually a pig farmer that taught me one of the most important lessons of life.
I love it.
Little pigs stay at the trough. Big pigs go to slaughter.
And
so you just make sure there's always enough for everybody in every deal that you do. That's been my...
So when you discovered that as a little kid, did it make you cry?
No. No, just made me eat slower.
Eat slower, yes.
You realize when the pig went to market, he wasn't going shopping.
Yeah, this little piggy went to market. The piggy that stayed home.
You could say this little piggy went to bacon.
Yes,
is another way to put it.
And the little piggy that stayed home, he had to grow more. So, no, we so appreciate our pork producers across the United States, and it's a very important industry. But now I'm going to switch to another crop, another ag commodity. It's cotton. I want to ask you all about it, Dean. I mean, I think your passion is cotton because you really grow it. So let's talk about that. Why is it such an important crop to you? I hear it's kind of hard to grow. You've really got to take care of it. It's a long season crop, unlike iceberg lettuce that maybe takes 60 days from planting to harvest. We are basically planting it, first part of April, last part of March?
I plant it last part of March, and it's a 6-month crop.
Okay.
I mean, from when you turn the water on and get the seed in the ground, and then when it's done growing. I mean, my cotton is still growing right now. At least it's still getting water. But right now, we're just trying to make the bowls of cotton fill up.
Fill up and open up.
Yes. We're not.
So why do you have such a passion for it? Cotton farmers are serious about what they do. I have yet to meet a cotton farmer that's not passionate about that crop.
We are. It's just one of those fun things to grow, to watch it. I mean, I grow corn also, and corn just you put it in the ground or the concrete or whatever, and it just comes up. It grows like a weed. Cotton, you never know what you're going to get. There are so many varieties. I grow for a seed company, Maricot, and they're out of Texas. And so last year I grew 5 different varieties for them. This year I've grown 1. But what I do is and this is a different part of production. So you have the production for lint, and that's the fiber. I'm growing it for the fiber and for the seed. So this company buys the seed from me after I've grown it. They ship it to Texas. They process it, and then they sell it as next year's seed.
Okay.
And so actually the seed I got this year, I grew it last year.
Oh, wow.
I was the only person in the United States that grew it last year, so I know it's my seed.
Oh, funny. Okay.
And last year it was shipped out of
Experimental from Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it was an experimental, and they shipped it out from Puerto Rico. Usually what they do is they'll pick it down there, process it, put it in a plane, fly it over here to the United States. We plant it immediately. And cotton it's a wonderful thing. It's a management way of growing. You really tell the plant exactly what you want it to do. And unfortunately, each time they come out with a new variety, it takes us a while to figure out how to grow it, because there are so many different. Because I grow it, the seed I'm growing right now, it may be for Mississippi, it may be for Florida, or it may be for the drylands of Texas. And so we never know when we grow it here whether it's going to be tolerant to the heat or whether it needs more water. We don't know. And so that's really an experiment, and it makes it fun most of the time.
So
so they
go ahead.
And they pay us. They pay us a good amount for it, and so really, it's one of the really good ways to actually still make money on cotton, because the price of the fiber is not very good.
It's not great. But one background story on that, can anyone guess why we grow so much seed cotton for other states? In the reality of it, there's only certain cotton or companies that grow the seed, but it's because of our weather. We do it so well. But it is kind of sometimes for some of our farmers that are really growing it for the production of the actual fiber, we sometimes whine a little bit. I say that with endearing love, because it's like, we want cotton seed that's for Arizona. I mean, there's kind of that debate, but to that point, he's a cattle rancher, but he's the president of Graham County Farm Bureau, Ben Mingus. Even though he's a rancher, he's advocating on behalf of some of the Graham County cotton farmers for some improved seeds that's more specific to Arizona's climate. Now, is that not a cool story
That's cool.
or what?
It's cool.
But there's a lot of neat things that have been happening with cotton. It's very huge strides towards sustainability and environmental responsibility. And we like to tell that to the consumers because it's renewable, it's very biodegradable. One of the things that our ag education, and I think they do it every year, they'll bury a pair of men's underwear, and about 4 weeks later, and this is cotton underwear, obviously, they'll pull it out, and the only thing that survived that biodegradable process in the soil is the band, the men's band for the underwear. So it's very biodegradable. And one of the fun facts that I like to share, and I hope that the listeners will appreciate this too, is according to a 2016 Field to Market report by the National Cotton Council, in the last 35 years, land use for cotton has gone down by 31%. And yet we can still grow as much or more than we ever did because of our yields per acre, our measuring term, continue to increase. Soil loss has gone down by 44% over the last 35 years. Water use for cotton has gone down by 82% in the last 35 years. Energy use for cotton has gone down 54%, and greenhouse gas has gone down by 30%. So and technology, seed improvement, advances in the management that you speak of, Dean, those are some of the things that are making this a very sustainable crop across the 19 Cotton Belt states that we need to keep celebrating and supporting our farmers in growing this amazing crop, even though it may take a little bit more management than some other crops. But you love it.
I do. I do. And I don't know if you want to talk on GMOs, genetically modified organisms.
Yeah.
I, as a farmer, love GMOs. They are the best thing since sliced bread, honestly. I grew a crop of cotton back in 1990 of cotton, and we had a bug come in called the pink bollworm. I sprayed 9 times, and I picked about 1/4 of what I would normally pick.
Wow.
Of cotton, because the worms ate it all. So the cotton I grow today has 3 different versions of a gene for just that bug, the pink bollworm.
Wow.
And any other worm that's going to feed on it. Wow. If a worm starts eating on that plant, it gets sick, it dies. Now we have another insect. It's called the lygus bug. We have a new gene for that. I used to spray anywhere from 2 to 4 times a year for lygus. This year I sprayed 0 times.
Wow.
It's
and that's
wonderful.
because of the biotech. I like to say biotech, but the consumer usually hears GMO. And it's all been very specifically researched. Some of these biotech crops do not come on to the market until 12 to 15 years later. It's the efficacy on it and the value proposition to the farmers. My dad says the same thing. He estimates that he reduced his pesticide use by about 90% once in 1996, which was the year that biotech cotton was first introduced.
Right.
Dramatic reduction in pesticides. Farmers don't like to use pesticides.
Right. No, we can't afford to.
You can't afford to. And there are other ways to control pesticides, either mechanically or beneficials. So introducing ladybugs, especially into our alfalfa fields and stuff like that. But so those kind of things. I'm glad, I appreciate that you brought that up because a lot of times people say, well, how can I stay away from GMOs? Well, we don't really want to if we want to have some of the fiber we have. And really, there's only Katie, my ag education partner in crime at Arizona Farm Bureau, might be correct me, but I think there's only 12 crops, and most of them are non-human direct. There's an apple, there's a papaya, but if you really want to stay away from them, it's easy to. Yeah. But you shouldn't have to worry about them. So why do you think cotton is still important in Arizona despite some of the criticism it gets with water and some of the other things? For you personally, speaking to that as a farmer? Well,
that's a tough one. We have to diversify all the time. So yes, I can plant cotton every year, and I've actually done cotton year after year after year in the same field, and things go bad. So you want to have other crops. And cotton is a really good one. Cotton really doesn't take that much out of the ground. They used to call it poverty weed, but actually it wasn't because cotton made you poor. It was because you could use it on poor land and you could still get a crop.
Okay.
And there's a really good article out there. It's by this lady named, I can't remember, Sally something or other. She developed colored cotton.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And
here in
which
Arizona.
Yes. And they still grow it. There's places in America that grow colored cotton. So this is really getting off. You can have brown cotton, green cotton. I'm not sure all the colors, but mostly brown and green.
Yeah.
And the best thing about those is the more you wash them, the darker they get. So they go opposite of because there is no dye. It's just a natural thing. Cotton.
It would be one way, especially if you didn't want to add dyes to it, for us to be celebrating cotton. So I do hear, and you're confirming that one of the biggest reasons for still growing cotton here in Arizona is because of the rotation of the crops.
Yes, and it also is a very efficient water user. I know people get after it about not being that. And it's also, it's good for a lot of industries. It's not just cotton. Farmers spend money, and cotton requires input. You've got to put fertilizer on it. You have to use machinery, both for harvest and all the other steps in between, from planting to harvest.
And all that spending benefits the local and state economy.
Yes.
Interesting. Arizona, it's barbecue season. Picture this, a fun evening poolside, your grill roaring, and the mouth-watering aroma of pork ribs wafting through the air. Whether you're slow smoking a pork shoulder, searing juicy chops, or wrapping veggies in crispy bacon, pork delivers unmatched flavor every time.
When I can throw a little salt and pepper on a pork chop, that's all it takes to have really, really good flavor. Ground pork in terms of burgers is so much better.
Gather friends for a backyard feast or savor a quiet night grilling under the desert sky. With endless cuts and recipes, pork's perfect for any outdoor cookout. Visit azpork.org for recipes and mouth-watering ideas. Fire up that grill and taste what pork can do. Your next barbecue masterpiece starts now at azpork.org.
Break me up a piece of that pork, baby.
Grab your tongs and let those juices flow.
It's the Farm Fresh Hour, served up by the Arizona Pork Council at Rosie on the House.
Berkshire, Chester White, Duroc, Hampshire, Landrance, Poland, China. That's interesting. 2 different countries, Poland, China. Spotted Pig and Yorkshire are the primary breeds grown in Arizona. But on a taste test, nobody could tell the difference when it's in boudin. It's all good. It's all good.
I bet we can't. That is too fun.
And we, as a group, when this all came together, have been putting together our favorite pork recipes. And
we're going to be sharing them all week on Facebook, so be sure you check our page each day. We came up with some great ones in the office, and I think the first one we'll post will be Navajo green pork chili.
Ooh.
But I've got some fantastic ones, so tune in every day to Facebook.
I love pork. Green chili pork is like my favorite. La Ristra, which is, they have a location in Gilbert and Chandler. Every pork dish that they serve up is just mouth-watering. So that's my recipe.
We're going to talk about restaurants, too, across the state where we love to get a good pork dish.
Okay. Well, cool. So the USDA census indicates that family farms face challenges from urban development. So what caused your family to stick it out so long, Dean? Why can you be celebrating 100 years?
Well,
your legacy, not you, but
yes. And not all of us did. When my great-grandfather, he had kids and he had stepkids, and each one of them got land, and some of them farmed, some of them sold the farm and went off and did something else. But there were always some of us who were very interested in what we were doing. We loved what we were doing. And I do not do animals. So that whole beef cattle thing just did not pass on to me. I don't want to work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Thank you.
Yeah.
and so, yes, we have a lot of encroachment, especially now. Just in the last few years, we're on the industrial side of Casa Grande, and lots of big businesses coming in, and there's some pressure, but that's all right. You go ahead and call me whenever, and I'll just tell you no. That's fine. I don't mind saying no.
Wow. Yeah, and I know there's that kind of pressure with a lot of the farm families today when somebody comes along and offers a certain price per acre on the land. I know you've always heard the saying it's their 401k plan, but our farmers like yourselves, you guys strategize on your futures, and that's one of the reasons why I think some of these farmers and ranchers can call themselves representative of a century farm. But if you for a final thought for the listeners, if you had one takeaway you could give them, what would you like to say?
I know there's not a lot of farmers out who have the long history of doing what they're doing. They don't have the father and grandfather, but you all have families. Well, I've never met a farmer who doesn't have a family. And it's really important for you to teach your kids about the farm. Not necessarily that they have to be farmers, but how important that is to their lives going forward, and how proud they can be of that. And also, people, when you take pictures, would you please write on the back who it is?
Right.
Doing this whole family picture thing that I've been going through lately, it's wonderful to see those pictures, but I sure would like to know who they are. And it really, you'll find, maybe you won't find out, but hopefully you'll find out sometime in your future that where you came from really does matter.
Yeah. Yeah, and you guys are proof of that. And then another great story while we were on break was, didn't you say you took your girls in the cotton picker to school? Or what was that story?
Oh, actually, when our youngest daughter was in middle school, they had a pickup circle for everybody. All the parents came in, drove into the pickup circle, and I was custom picking cotton right down the road. And so when she got out of school, I would drive my cotton picker, and it was only a 2-row, so it was really just as wide as a car, but 10 times as high. And I would just drive right into that cotton pick, into that traffic circle, and she would be waiting there, and she would climb up, and you could just see all those boys down there looking like, oh, why is she so lucky? She loved it when I picked her up in the cotton picker.
Oh, what a treasure and what a story. And how many? You can't do that with one of those $1.2 million cotton.
No.
16-row cotton pickers. So
yeah,
I mean, there's just no way you would be able to do that. And I love your story of how you're not always making application of the most modern. You're kind of rejiggering things to make them work even in a modern era.
Yeah. And I don't buy very much equipment at all. The way I look at it is I really have what I need. And that also is part of the decision to not grow another crop. I mean, do I really at 66 want to go out there and buy all new equipment? I mean, if I were to go back to growing alfalfa like my great-grandfather did, I'd have to either just pay somebody to do it, which there goes your profit margin, or I'll just grow cotton, thank you. I have everything I need.
Get out there with a sickle.
Yeah.
I have one of those.
I believe it.
He does have a sickle.
Thanks for spending your Saturday morning with us. You can go to fillyourplate.org for all the great information for the Farm Bureau and sign up for an annual $65 Farm Bureau membership. Comes with a lot of great benefits, and you support our local ag.
Crank up the grill, Arizona. Nothing beats the sizzle of pork ribs or chops on a fall family barbecue. From tender pulled pork to smoky bacon-wrapped skewers, pork's your ticket to Flavor Town. Fire up your backyard pit, grab your tongs, and let those juices flow. Perfect for gatherings or a quiet night under the stars. Head to your local butcher and taste what pork can do. Get grilling at azpork.org.
Rosie on the house, every Arizona homeowner's best friend.